Time for the 49ers Rush Podcast. And here's your host, John Chapman.
What is going on, faithful? It is Tuesday, which means I'm amped up, even though it's early. And I appreciate everybody showing up for the early show. It is 8 a.m. Tuesday, 13th. I'm with the best in the business, the Wayne Breezy, remote location. How we doing today, Wayne?
We're doing good on this beautiful, sunny, still summer day out here at Ballard's Beach in Rhode Island. I'm back. I'll be performing for the next 3 days. So, but it's good to hear. It's good that 49er football is back. It's good that the John and Wayne show is back. You've been on the training camp tour, so it's good to have you back. It's good to be back with you. Let's get this John and Wayne show popping.
I love it. And I was joking with Wayne earlier. I knew exactly where he was because we record so much. I know his remote locations. I'm like, oh, I know where you're clocking in. That's what's up, man. That's incredible. And so shout out to Wade, hardest working man in the business. And I'm pumped because, as the season starts, we record more together. And so Tuesdays, we're going to have our show. Wednesday or Thursdays, we're not quite sure. We'll be over on his channel. So no matter what you do, if you just do one thing today, type in the Wayne Breezy, whatever app you're on, you're going to see the smile. You're going to see the swag. Hit subscribe. We're going to be over there all year long. So make sure you support the Wayne Breezy. Thank you, Raphael562. Appreciate you, man. We've got Matthew in the house. So today's episode is going to be a little different because what I wanted to do, obviously we're going through film and all that stuff. I wanted to step back because Wayne and I, we're both film guys and we pay attention to the smallest detail on all the things all the time, which I love, but I want to step back and kind of look at the forest for the trees and pay attention to, okay, these are some of the things that we've got to pay attention throughout the year that could rear their ugly heads and kind of put, I don't know, a jam in the 49ers season, some major 49ers issue. Not that it's a negative episode, but that these are some of the main issues, and we're already starting to see them with injuries, and that's where we're going to start. But what are some of these things that could kind of derail the 2024 49ers team? So, Wayne, let's start with injuries. Seems it's not quite 2020 49ers bad, but there is a long list, man, of injuries. The infirmary report it's getting longer and longer.
I haven't heard the word infirmary since college, but that's where you went. It wasn't called the hospital; it was the infirmary. But no, definitely a concern. It wouldn't be a major concern to me unless it happened to, specifically a certain player at a certain position. I feel like that would be a major, like your quarterback, your defensive end, your left tackle. Like those guys. I think other than that, I really think the 49ers did a good job at building this roster, developing talent, and creating good depth. So we always preach the next man up mentality, but when we're hit with the adversity, we're like, oh my God, it's panic season, it's panic mode. No, it's next man up mentality. It's always going to be that. So we always want guys to get opportunities, John. And, we can look at the injuries as a negative Nancy or situation, or we could look at it from a positive view to where some player is going to get an opportunity. And the question is, what will they do with the opportunity? And for some players, that's where opportunities come. And it's unfortunate, but they come at the expense of an injury to a different player. Now, there are only a few players that are probably that are out for the season, like Drake Jackson's out for the season. Dre Greenlaw's on the PUP, so he has the ability to return. So we're waiting on that. Look at Ambry Thomas. He has a broken hand, I believe. We don't know the situation or how long the duration is going to be for that. Will he go on the IR? You can break that down. And then you got Kalia Davis. These are depth pieces, though. These are players that were going to provide great rotation at some point, or get the opportunity to come out there, if need be. So I'm looking at it from a positive light, man. Like, next man up, put your pads on, get out there and show what you know. Make your mistakes, learn from them, keep it moving.
Man, I love that. And I kind of want to go down that tunnel, but I want to get to this question first because I've gotten a lot of emails on this. Shout out to Cynthia. She's the best. She says, what's up with the new strength conditioning program? So we only lost one guy. Like, we lost the head of our strength and conditioning program. The rest of the team stayed. Like, there's, I don't know how many people are on that team, at least 5 to 6, but the main guy left. How much, Wayne, do you put on? We lost our main strength conditioning trainer guy. Coincidence.
I mean, the main guy is the main guy. Maybe he took some of his main secrets with him. But again, next man up. Staff need to get together. And these are weird injuries, though. We're talking the 49ers got about, 23, 24 injuries. And I feel like 20 of them are hamstrings. It's just weird, right? So they got to do a better job at getting these players, warming them up. I wonder how many of the players are going like extra harder too. Like they're trying to make a name for themselves. They're trying to secure a spot on that 53-man roster. People forget we at 90 and they gotta trickle it down to 53. So guys are going harder than they normally would. They're getting these opportunities. They want to show that they can do what they can do. And next thing you know, they're getting weird injuries. And some of the injuries are happening with players just walking onto the field, man. Look, it's football. I don't want to put too much into the strength and conditioning, but the strength and conditioning needs to look at these injuries and figure out a way, especially the soft tissue ones, and figure out a way how to manage them, right? So that they don't develop into, ACL tears and things like that down the line.
Yeah, I like that. And, Vicky comes out. She says, our quarterback literally got his job from this next man up mentality. And so you brought up, like, who are these opportunities going to go to? We had 23 injuries heading into the Titans game. We added 3 with Ambry Thomas, Kalia Davis, Frank Darby. Frank Darby's now gone. Ambry Thomas, I want to talk a little bit more about IR in a second. But, Wayne, my question to you is, who are we looking to step up with some of these injuries? There's been a lot of wide receiver injuries. There's been a lot of defensive tackle injuries, a lot of corner issues. Who is somebody that kind of stands out to you that could step up in this role? Chris Conley's definitely one of the ones that have seized the moment on the offensive receiver side. But who else stands out to you that could kind of step up and gets more of a chance because of this?
Yeah, the Frank Darby injury is a little weird because I don't think they disclosed it, but they did waive him because of an injury. And then they brought in and signed Robbie Chosen. So I think the 49ers are literally just like testing people out. Like, it's like going to a car lot and testing out the used car. Like, that's what they're doing with these veterans, these old guys. I love what I saw from Chris Conley, but we've always loved what we saw from Chris Conley. I hope Kyle Shanahan doesn't play the politics as usual game. You already know where I'm going with that, with the practice squad. But
I do like that they put him in front of the mic. I thought that was like...
That was amazing. He needs to speak a lot more. He was well worth listening to. Great sounding voice. Wasn't monotonous. I feel like I'm telling on everybody else. But you get what I'm saying. Like, he was a breath of fresh air. If somebody new face, we were like, yeah. But who am I looking to step up? I mean, in that wide receiver room, you got guys that have been on this team. And I'm not going to front. I'm looking for my second-year guy out of Michigan, Ronnie Bell, to step up. But I can understand he's still a second-year player. You got some third-year guys. You got some fourth-year guys. Like, these are Danny Gray. Take off the blue non-contact jersey, dog. Get out there and be a dog. Right? Like we got to get these guys to step up, especially at that wide receiver spot, because Kyle Shanahan breeds dogs, and we need to find out who's going to be a dog, who can weather the storm. Now, they're dealing with these weird injuries. Jake McCowan, weird hamstring injury. Again, trying to get acclimated back to the mix in practice and training camp, but still not 100%. So you're going to have to rely on your savvy vets, and that's where they come in. This is where Robbie Chosen is going to come in. This is where I just talked about Ronnie Bell can make a name for himself with the opportunity that he's given. Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams, honestly, holding out, we'll get to that or whatever, them being out is a blessing and in disguise, because now you're going to really get to see who can really take the reins if they had to due to whatever. So that wide receiver room just got to get tougher. I like what I saw from Trent Taylor. I'm not saying he's going to make this roster, but great returns, secured, sure hands, was a great run blocker. Like rated high, he was the highest non-offensive lineman run blocker in the game for PFF, but he was out there doing things with his little self. So does he step up? So the vets, it's the vets. The vets are going to get their opportunities. Kyle loves his vets. And so in that wide receiver room, I think the vets are going to make a name for themselves. Now, on the opposite end of on the defensive side, I think the young corners, not necessarily they're not loaded with a bunch of vets, right? They're loaded with a bunch of young talent. And so I thought Renardo Green played very well in his first preseason game, but it's going to be interesting to see how they kick up. I think those young guys, man, are going to step up and make a name for themselves. So it's all about the mentality, bro, and carpe diem, man. Seizing the moment.
I love that. And it's funny because we all thought it was going to be Ricky Pearsall would be the benefactor of Ayuk being out, right? Like, oh, we're going to get this young pup all these reps. He's had not one, not two, but 3 injuries. And it's just like, we can't get him out there. We just cannot. And it seems like whoever they bring in at X is getting injured. And I think there's like 4 separate wide receivers they brought in there that have all dealt with injuries. And so, yeah, we'll see what it is. Now, I want to talk about the IR rule, because they talked about Ambry Thomas. He broke his forearm, wrist, hand, whatever. He's going to be out for a long time. Kalia Davis goes and messes up his knee, and Shanahan said he's going to miss about half of the season. Now, here's what's new this year. So the new IR rules, you get 8 players that get to come back from IR, okay? So you have to miss 4 games, then you can come back. Now, they added this year, you can put 2 players on IR before your initial 53-man roster, and they can come back. The only difference is you have to pre-designate whether they come back, and they count as one of your 8, whether they come back or not. So we saw with Drake Jackson, they just put him on IR, and it was done. Like, he's not one of ours, okay? He's not coming back this year. His 2024 season is 100% done with the 49ers. Now, Kalia Davis and Ambry Thomas are interesting because I think Kalia Davis, they want back, whatever Shanahan said, half the season. Ambry Thomas, I don't know. Do you think that factors into the fact that both these players are still on our roster? Because, you made you added Robbie Chosen, but you didn't put one of these players on IR, because once they go on IR, you get those spots back, those 91 spots that you get to, have on your team. What do you think about that with Ambry Thomas and Kalia Davis?
It's interesting, right? Because it all comes down to the room. I mean, we're looking at, what they do on the football field, and I thought Kalia Davis had a way better game before his injury. He played the majority of the game, but I thought he had a way better game than what Ambry Thomas put out there before his injury. And for me, it just looks like Ambry Thomas is just not gelling. He
I don't think it's a fit for him. He needs a less physical team. We asked a little too much.
Yeah, and I don't think it's about the physicality. It's funny that you brought that up. I think he's better more on the press man. Every time you watch Ambry Thomas line up on your film, what is he doing? He's playing off, right? He's playing off the man. He has to figure out the zones. He's struggling with the zone coverage. I think it's too complicated for him, and for some reason, he's just making all the mental errors, and he can't recover from them. And there comes your missed tackles. There comes your beating on double moves. And I'm not trying to, throw him down, but this is just what I see when I'm watching film. I think he was a short tackler last year. He was one of the best tackling corners. And then in this game, he looked bad. Now, it could have been because of the broken forearm, wrist, or whatever. We don't know when that happened. So he could have been playing in some type of weird, excruciating pain. But as no excuses, I just feel like Ambry Thomas wasn't going to be a lock because of the way that the cornerback room is. You got Darrell Luter Jr. coming back off of his little minor injury or whatever, and then you got Samuel Womack III that's looking to make a spot. So that's why I said these young guys are dogs. And when it comes to Ambry Thomas and the situation, it's weird because Kyle Shanahan made it seem like he loves Ambry Thomas. Like, you have to listen to the presser. He's
been getting the 4th team, the number 4 corner reps almost all of training camp. So like your top 3 corners, Charvarius Ward, Diamador Lenore, then Isaac Yadam. He's been
Interesting.
the first in nonstop, and that's 2 years in a row. He climbed out of the doghouse, quote unquote, last year with Wilkes, and he hadn't had a bad camp. He hadn't had a good camp either, but he's gotten the benefit of the doubt over Rocky Sin, over Renardo Green until those last couple of days of training camp. So yeah, I just don't know. I'm not the biggest Ambry fan just because I don't think it's a fit.
I know he's not a fit. And it took me a minute because I was like, yo, why isn't he grasping the concepts on the defense when it comes to zone? He struggles in zone coverage. And then because he struggles in zone coverage, he struggles in man coverage, which is weird because he's a better man corner. So
Nate Wiggins, I remember breaking down the Clemson first round draft pick, right? Like he's a damn good player. This dude does not fit. You know what I mean? Like I don't want him on this team. And that's the same way I feel about Ambry. Like it doesn't mean he's a bad football player. Yeah, I just hope he finds a better fit.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to. So the question is what's going to happen to him. So my guess is that he goes on season-ending IR. But if they do that, the 49ers are still going to own his rights for the next season. So he'll be back.
Yeah.
Like it's the game. It's a game. It's a game of politics on how to manipulate the system. And Kyle, to me, is the GOAT at manipulating the system. Once he understands the rules and the regulations, he finds bylaws on how to manipulate it. And I think that's where Ambry Thomas, he'll be a stash player just like Drake Jackson, and then they'll get an opportunity and they're still going to be dirt cheap. So You're not spending a lot of money on free agency. Now the question is, how will they play? But I just don't think Ambry's a good fit. Kalia Davis, on the other hand, man, I want to see him ball out, man. Every time he's on the football field, I feel like he has the ability to make an impact. I don't care if he's going against 1s, 2s, 3s, or 4s. Healthy, I think he can be a problem and as a good rotational piece. I don't see him as a starter, but I see him as a good depth piece. And it's unfortunate that he's going to be out for about half the season after the knee surgery. So will he be back? That might be a guy Kyle Shanahan puts on IR but designates to return. So that might be one of the players that he wants to bring back, one of the 8.
I agree. I thought he had his best game. It was preseason, but he was out there doing it against, the Titans 1s and 2s. So I thought he was the number 5 guy. And we'll talk a little bit more about stopping the run and all that stuff in a minute. But shout out to my man, Dave. He's one of the producers of our 91 roster countdown series. He says, injuries are always number 1 issue with any team. I'm concerned, and this will take us to our next topic, about the BA drama and how that messes with the locker room chemistry. Now, I do a point to stay away from all BA-related topics on almost all my shows until Wade shows up because he's my go-to. This is the guy I go to. The podcasters listen to Wayne Breezy whenever we talk about this. So, Wayne, let's do our weekly contracts update. This is a concern. Trent Williams, Brandon Ayuk, take it wherever you want to go.
All right, so there's a report out there that Trent Williams is in the 49ers. There's no significant movement going on. Okay, so it's stale. It's going to be stale. I expect it's a deal that's got to get done. Now, I'm sure the Niners are trying to find a way to make a deal with Trent Williams, trying to find a way to give this guy the guarantees that he needs to show back up at the age that he is to play elite level football. But I'm gonna tell you right now, John, I get a weird feeling, and usually my intuition, it just comes to pass. I get a feeling the longer he stays away, the harder it is going to be for him to return. And what do I mean by that? I mean, he was contemplating retirement at one point, and I know he toyed with the fans. He wants to come back. There's things he can break, records he can break. He needs a Super Bowl to solidify, I think, his spot in the Hall of Fame. There's so many things he can still do, but he is at home with his girls, and so it's kind of tough. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying he's going to retire. I wouldn't be surprised if he decided to hang up the cleats. I just wouldn't be surprised. Brandon Ayuk situation, I mean, we know what it is. Here's what it is. Ayuk wants to be a Niner. The Niners want Ayuk. How are they going to find a way to agree on a number that fits? That's the balance of the two. The two powers. I need people to stop saying Brandon Ayuk isn't worth money. Stop saying that Brandon Ayuk isn't this, isn't that, because Brandon Ayuk makes the 49ers offense better. At the beginning of this show, if you were paying attention to anything that John said, he said all of the injuries at the wide receiver position came from the X position. There's an X, there's a Y, there's a Z. Brandon Ayuk is the X. It's ironic how that particular young fella found a way to stay relatively healthy his 4 years here in San Francisco. So the Niners might start looking at it like, hey, man, we're going to have to budge that number up 0.2. Let's go ahead and get it up. Give him $200 extra $1,000. Let's go ahead and get him in here, man. We need to solidify this spot. You get what I'm saying? So it's just a numbers game, ladies and gents. I believe Brandon Ayuk wants to be here. I'm not him, but I believe that's what's really going on.
I like it. Dave says, hopefully school starts and Trent gets bored enough to come back to work. I
hope so too, Dave. I'm hoping he's not enjoying. I don't want to say this in the wrong way. I'm hoping he's enjoying his family time. But sometimes when you get that, it's a moment that hits you and you just be like, I want to enjoy more family time. So I'm hoping he wants to come back to it.
Come on, man. Do the Tom Brady thing. And I've never said that about any situation in my life, but that's okay. I think Trent just wants to stay away from training camp. I think he just doesn't want. He doesn't like practicing on Wednesdays. He's just like, man, just let me.
He has every Wednesday off, right?
He has every Wednesday off the whole season.
That's trying to negotiate another day off, like
he probably is. Every other Thursday.
Every other Thursday. Yeah, that's a good point.
Awesome. And you know what? What I want, I think we need wedding crashers where you got like Vince Vaughn and like they're
one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, they're like, you throw some miles my way, I'll throw some miles your way. We'll just we'll just call it a day. We'll call it a day. That's what we needed. The Brandon Ayuk said, just meet right in the middle. Like if Brandon Ayuk wants 30, the 49ers have offered 26.5. Let's just boom right in the middle. Let's divide that by 2, whatever that difference is. Salute, we're done. That's
how easy it is, right?
Seems that way. But I've worked with agents. They are the worst. They're necessary. I hate them. I hate them. I don't like working with them, but they're good at what they do, and I hope Ayuk gets everything that he can. But I want him to stay. I do want him to stay, and we'll see. It's going to work itself out, hopefully. We'll see. Now, let's get to our next major issue, and this is something we've already kind of touched on a little bit today. The 49ers seem to almost always give the benefit of the doubt to the veteran player over the promising youngster. So, do we think that that's a trend that continues? Here's just a couple, just spots that I've already seen this kind of play out during training camp. DFF over D Winters, George Odom over Malik Mustafa, Spencer Burford, over Dominique Pooney. Talk to me, Wayne. Are the 49ers going to do the 49ers thing where the vet gets the nod over the youngsters? Is that going to continue?
That's not my style, but that seems to be the 49ers style. It's about trust.
What's Shanahan's phrase? The moment's not too big for him. I think I've heard him say that 30 times.
That's what it is, bro. And so, I think Chris Forster and Dominic Pooney, I think that's a rare situation. I don't see how he loses the starting job. There's not a vet. Because I don't see Spencer Burford as a vet, even though he's a vet. But I don't see John Feliciano taking this. I don't see John Feliciano playing better at the guard spot than Dominic Pooney.
Week 1, you got Quentin Williams. Does that factor into the equation?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Oh, I love it, man.
Absolutely not. We talk about a 320-pound offensive lineman that's ready to kick some mother freaking beep. I don't got my buttons. You get what I'm saying? Like Dominic Pooney kicks off, fires up. He gets low. He's pushing people back. He was great in pass pro. Got to work on his run blocking, but great in pass pro. I just don't see. He wants that challenge. You as an offensive line coach, you want him to get that challenge. That's welcome to the NFL challenge right there. And if he passes that test, Ain't gonna be too many defensive tackles he's gonna have to worry about. You get what I'm saying? So I like that test, man. I don't think Dominic Pooney's doing anything to lose the job. Again, we talked about at the beginning of the show, and Vicky put it out there. Man, listen, Brock Purdy got his job from an opportunity. Christian McCaffrey's father, Ed, said, listen, if you can play injured, play. But if you can't, good luck getting your job back. Katz is ready to take your spot. That's just the name of the game. Don't get injured.
It's crazy to me. And, I like this from Dave. Kyle and John have adjusted their draft strategy a few times, which I do like. They went away from off the field stuff with Reuben Foster. They went away from the inexperience with Trey Lance. They went away from the injured stuff with Javon Kinlaw. They've changed it 3 times that they just don't mess with these players anymore. Now, can that adjust also to letting younger players get reps? We'll see. And, one of the ones I didn't even put in my notes, sorry about that, Papa J comes in, Mitchell over Mason. That's what's happening there, too. Now, Mason goes out and has a great game, but struggled with the one play in pass pro that he was out there out of the 11, that very first play. We were texting about this, Wayne. So let me ask you this. Let's assume, this is a big assumption, Elijah Mitchell's healthy. Who's the first backup to come into the game?
Mitchell.
You think Elijah Mitchell? You've been on Team Mitchell for a minute.
It's not even about being Team Mitchell. I'm Team Mitchell, Team Mason, Team McCaffrey. Them are your 3 running backs. Okay. Now, as far as Mason, it just seems like when the Niners run a certain style of running, Mason's going to feast. His only issues to me is consistency in the pass pro game. And you can't just go out there and just run the ball on every single down because once you can until the defense figures it out, and then they're going to start putting 8 in the box. And then if you got Mason out there when it comes to a pass down and he misses a blitzing linebacker, and now your quarterback is going to throw an incomplete pass, an interception, or potentially get hurt, that you have to question that. And so that to me is where he still has to figure out. Now he needs the reps. Practice ain't it. It's going to happen again because he literally didn't do anything wrong other than the fact he was delayed on the block. Like, that's it. Like, he was like, oh, shit. Oh, snap. I got a block. That's what it was. I was like, oh, no. I was wondering why that ball was so, like, into the ground to Ronnie Bell. And it was because the blitzer. I just thought they just beat. Nah, Mason was late on the block. So I'm not saying he's like that on every play, but those are the plays that Kyle Shanahan looks at and be like, I can't trust him yet.
Yeah.
And so, we could come in and close a game because we're not going to be throwing the ball. But as far as being in that game, now, if there's an injury to Elijah Mitchell, you better go Jordan Mason hands down, pass pro or not, because that guy is going to get you 7 to 8 yards to carry.
Now, I want to just do a really quick step out of the 49ers realm because we're talking about injuries. We're talking about rotations and stuff. And so I 2 things came across. One, talking injuries, rookie Tyrone Tracy, who was a 5th-round running back for the Giants, just got carted off the field at practice on a non-contact injury, which is awful. It's heartbreaking. And that dude was fighting for the number 2 spot. And so I
think he was fighting for the number 1 spot.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. Devin Singletary, really Eric Gray.
But they really loved that kid. I mean, I watched Hard Knocks. They really loved him.
He was a fun player. I liked him a lot. But so injuries happen to every team out there, all over the place. That's what it is. But there was a clip. I think it was yesterday or maybe this morning. Mike McDaniel for the Dolphins head coach. They asked him, "You have 2 running backs listed as your starters. Why do you do that? There's only 1 starter." And he went off, not really a rant, but it was like a 3-4 minute answer that I thought was awesome. And he's like, I wanted to put 4 players as my starters at running back because I want to let the players dictate who gets the playing time. All of them are on this, current, blank slate or whatever, or equal playing field. But whenever the game starts and you give the carries and you divide the carries up, the players determine who gets the playing time after that. Let them dictate who deserves that time in the game. So like you ride the hot hand and all that stuff. So I thought it was a really fresh approach. I really miss Mike McDaniel. I love that dude. Obviously, I'm very happy Shanahan's our guy, but it was just like an interesting approach to, he sees everything just from a very weird, different angle, but I kind of liked it. I don't know. What do you think of that?
Eh, um, eh,
Wait, it's like no.
I,
It's just no.
nah. Uh, I don't know. I know comments on that.
Okay,
No
that's fair.
comments.
That's fair. All right. So now, what about the safety spot? Now, I think George Odom's played really well. But now
Yeah.
that Mustafa came out, he probably had two of the biggest plays of the game. I did think that he had a lot of mistakes as well. But talk to me about that safety room.
Safety room is tough. That might be the hardest room to make the roster. It's not like super deep. And so I think George Odom and Jair Brown gonna be your starting safeties, even if Talanoa Hufanga is cleared to play. And you have to do it like that because you gotta ease Hufanga back in. You know, you're not gonna just throw him out there. You gotta ease him.
Currently, we're 4 weeks away.
4 weeks away. If he's able to come back this week, cleared by his doctors, that's great. If he's not doing anything this week, right? He'll
now we're down to 3. Is there a cutoff for you? Like you need 3.5, 4 weeks? Like, is that the time period?
Yep.
What do you?
I mean, you really want to see him moving laterally, right? Like because he has to make those cuts, and he plays such off of impulse and impact. I think it's going to take time to build up. Now he's got to go out there, and make that first hit. I don't think you have to start him right away because of the safety depth and the talent that you have there. To me, George Odom is taking a big leap in that safety department. We're going for a guy that played safety, then played mainly special teams, became an all-pro special teams player, and then was like a backup safety when he was with the Colts, right? And so now he's with the Niners. He did the same thing because we had our safety room locked. And then when he came in on certain plays or had to play, he wasn't good at the safety spot. And so now that he's getting the reps there, now he's starting to build the muscle memory of the safety. He's starting to communicate out there. And I think that's what's most important. And then you got the young Jair Brown that looks like he's just taking full command. And then when Hufanga comes back, I think this just helps the 49ers. You don't have to rush him back. It's all about having and utilizing your pieces at the right time. It's chess, not checkers. And so what's the point of rushing him out there on the football field if you already got George Odom playing at a good level of football where you want him to play? So I like the safety room, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's 4 safeties we talking about, right? And I like what I saw from Jalen Mahoney. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah, undrafted free agent. Like he's playing. He's played some ball. And so I'm with you. That safety. It's funny because we thought the safety was going to be a major issue. And people were talking like, oh, bring on Justin Simmons and all this stuff. I think they like what they have. And George Odom, I mean, I think he led in camp for most interceptions. Him and Diamador Lenore. Like,
yes, good point. Yes.
He was playing ball.
They're ball hawks, man. And that's what
funny.
you need.
Nick Sorensen said at OTAs that the most improved player was George Odom. And I was like, come on, man. Like, you can't do that. And then I go to camp and I'm like, most improved player is George Odom. Like he wasn't lying to us. He told us what it was. And
he had a couple brain farts in the preseason game, but other than that, he was good. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. RTP, Odom definitely played well through camp. Matthew was with me at almost all those training camp practices. 30 was out there balling. Dave, is Huff a pup candidate? He is, but once they activate him after this next week, which they said they're going to do, and Huff's out there, like Hufanga's out there at practice every day, and he keeps amping up. Like he was like running drills a few days ago and giving guys steps and like, working the DB drills where they're working the shoulders where he kind of like jogs and you mirror match and all that stuff. So like Huff is ready. You can feel his excitement just in sweats out there at training camp. Like, and understand this. And let me just say this. This is my opinion. Wayne, please disagree or agree, whatever. It's Huff, and there's a big gap between anybody else. Mm-hmm. Then there's Jair Brown, and there's an even bigger gap between
George Odom. Yeah.
Those two.
That's who you want on the field all the time.
All-pro safety, and Jair Brown has taken leaps and bounds.
That's who you want on the field. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's who you want on the field.
But don't rush Huff back.
That's my only thing. Like, you don't. I'm not saying if we didn't have the luxury of having great depth in that room, then Huff needs to bring his ass back as quickly as possible. But because we do have that, Huff is going to be fresh. You could run different types of formation. You could put 3 safeties out on the football field. Like you could do the big nickel, like where he's playing in a slot. There's so many different ways you can utilize the system. I think Nick Sorensen is smart enough to do it, and I think Huff will eventually. It's not going to be like the Jimmy Ward situation. Don't get. It's nothing like that. No. Jimmy Ward, and the reason why, you know why it's not going to be like Jimmy Ward situation? Because we talk about Huff. Who took Jimmy Ward's spot? Huff, right? And so, like, when you think about it, Huff is going to get his spot back. It's just ease him back into the system and let him get his feels out there. If he plays week 1, he's getting an interception. He could be the first 49er to get an interception if he plays.
Oh, I freaking love it. That is awesome. That is awesome. Now, we got a couple more issues I want to talk about, but before we do, if you're going to anything, any road trips this year, you got to come party with us, 49ersrushroadtrip.com. All right, 49ersrushroadtrip.com is live. Tickets are available for all of our road trips this year. Just go to 49ersrushroadtrip.com, click here for tickets. Brings you to our landing page here, and you can see all the events that we're doing. And so once you pick an event, you just click on 49ers Bucks, scroll down. You can see our pre-party. You can see our tailgate. You pick what you want to do there. And right now, the prices are as low as they're ever going to be. They only go up. So we got early bird pricing until we sell a certain number of tickets. You can check out there. You get a QR code ticketing site, which we built ourselves, which I'm so excited about. 49ersrushroadtrip.com. Go party with the faithful. Just want to update you real quick, just not Niners news, but we brought it into the show, so I want to clarify. Dan Duggan said rookie running back Tyrone Tracy muffed a kickoff and went to get the ball, and his leg buckled. Immediately, they put an air cast on his right leg and carted him off. So that means compound fracture probably 99% of the time. So that's
he's done for the season.
So not ACL, hopefully, which is all right, but it's a bone break, and when they put that air cast on, it's because they're trying to minimize swelling, and there's a break in there almost probably 99 times out of 100. Maybe my percentage is off, but that sucks. I hate to hear that. All right, let's go to the next issue. We got 2 more that I want to talk about. We alluded to this a little bit with Kalia Davis. My biggest question mark this entire offseason after free agency, after the draft, the 49ers didn't draft a defensive lineman at all. They never really signed a big run plugger, 320-pound defensive tackle. We saw a little bit of these issues in the Titans game already. What's the concern level on a scale of 1 being not concerned, 10 being, oh my gosh, this is insane, of the 49ers being able to stop the run game up the middle? What's your thoughts on that?
I'm at a 5, bro. Like, I need to see it in a real game, dog. Preseason helps. They still couldn't stop it up the middle. They got better as the game went along, but a lot of teams have bruiser backs. It's not all about the crazy outside zone speed, which I feel like the Niners are more equipped to. That's that wide 9 too, man. Like I would love for them to switch that philosophy a little bit, man. Move the defensive line in a little bit tighter, just a little bit. Don't be so wide. I wonder if that's part of the alignment that kind of screws it up. But look, I like who we have. I just need to see Malik Collins and Jordan Elliott out there on the football field together. Javon Hargrave as well. It's like I just need to see what they're going to be like together. I believe those 2 guys, they're 300-pound plus. They're not your nose tackle type of defensive tackles, but they got some weight to them. So these offensive line are going to be to just push these guys out the way. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think they'll be able to hold their own. So I believe the run up the middle will get better. I'm more concerned with missed tackles than I am with the rushing. I think the Niners will adjust to the rushing game and giving up a lot of rushing yards. They pride themselves on that. I think they'll figure that out. I'm more concerned about missed tackling still. Like, we just go for big hits all the time. This is not Madden. Just wrap and tackle.
Yeah, I like that.
Speaking of Madden, even in the new Madden, you go for the big hit now if you want to on a guy like Debo, you going to bounce off and Debo going to keep moving. Like, that's how they made the game. Like,
are you doing your Madden simulation?
Absolutely. Without a mother loving doubt.
If you're a Madden fan, You got to go follow the Wayne Breezy show on YouTube. You have
I'll
to.
be back Friday. And so sometime Friday, I'm hoping that I can do the preseason challenge against the Saints live. But that's what I'm going to try to kick off on Friday.
That's what's up. Invader says Dolphins just released Tierra Tart, their defensive tackle. He played with the Titans. He played with Houston.
Yeah. How much it costs?
I think you can get him cheap. The fact that he just got released. I don't know if there's a medical issue.
The fact that Kalia Davis is going to probably be out for a while. I think the Niners need to continue to fill that void. You got to find the right depth, man. And the only way you're going to know if they're right, John, is by getting them, plugging them in and see how they work. Look what we did last year. Who did we get? Sebastian Joseph Day. Yeah, like we just had to get players, and just hope that they panned out because we were like depleted in the interior. They got to do the same thing, man, this year. I'm not a really huge fan of T.Y. McGill. He's not really doing what I thought he was going to be able to do. Kevin Givens is more of a pass rushing defensive tackle. So they got to do what they got to do. If he's a run stuffer, I say bring him in. Yeah,
it's funny because I think they have 4 defensive tackles they like. That top 4 is kind of set with Malik Collins, Javon Hargrave, Kevin Givens, Jordan Elliott. That's your 4. Mm-hmm. I think there's only 3 defensive ends that they're comfortable with. Nick Bosa, obviously. Leonard Floyd, obviously. Ether Gross Matos. Robert Bill Jr., I thought was my most disappointing player in the preseason game. I was very.
Do you think his size is the issue? Because he's just not big enough to set the edge. And so you got to use him differently, right? Like you got to use him as speed, like get to the quarterback, period. In the discussion.
Right. Yeah. And Nick right here, he says, Breezy John, how true is it? We might go after Hassan Reddick. He does not fit at all what we do schematically. He's one of the worst players against the run in the NFL, has been since he came into the league with all 4 of his teams. He's a pass rush specialist only. He's me guy only. And so for somebody that's concerned, not that I'm concerned about the locker room, but I saw there was a question earlier about like the contract issues and just whatever else. Hassan Reddick's not a team-friendly locker room guy, has not been. You get that many sacks and you get pushed off so many teams, but he's a sack specialist. So I don't know, Wayne, would you go after Hassan Reddick?
Absolutely not, because I feel like that's what you're trying to develop Robert Bill Jr. to be. Like that is the perfect. There it is. That's the comp. That's what you're hoping. He has the speed. The question is, does he have the ability? Because once he starts getting sacks, everything's going to go be on the up and up for him. He just has to get that first one. But if they're using him not as a pass rush specialist, he's going to suffer. It's almost like Ambry Thomas struggling on the defense. He's more of a press man than he is off man guy, off ball guy. It's just weird.
Dave, he says, defensive tackle injuries give Evan Anderson a shot. They paid him a lot of guaranteed money to see why. He struggled, man. He was getting blown out of his, gap integrity consistently.
Isn't it crazy?
he's a big dude. And
he's
so
a mean dude, but I don't think mean means anything in the NFL. You got to be mean, but be able to hold your weight. And if you're getting pushed around, you're not holding your weight. You got to be the aggressor. And he didn't look good.
Yeah.
And it's just one game. Maybe the whole purpose is that you're hoping that they progress every game to make a name for themselves. So we'll see how the next week goes against the Saints.
And we're talking about the number 5 defensive tackle.
Correct.
That's important to put into perspective. I love this comp from Lee. He says Hassan Reddick is the Stephon Diggs of defensive ends. That is spot on. There's a mirror there. Like if you're that talented and you're that productive, but all teams want to get rid of you, that is a sign. Whenever everybody's fighting to keep you and everybody wants you, that is a sign. Everybody's fighting to keep Wayne Breezy. That you see what I'm saying? like that's just the way it goes. Last issue, and then there's a couple comments, questions I want to get to that have come through. Special teams. Wayne, I could not be more disappointed this year with special teams, and I've been ranting on this, so I want to take a step back and just hear your overall thoughts.
I have one. I'm just going to spin it in a positive light. Not that you asked me to.
I love it.
But for some reason, I'm going to give Brian Schneider the mother freaking benefit of the doubt. Okay? Here's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. Man, you got Chris Conley starting on as a wide receiver. Where's Chris Conley? Usually play gunner on your special teams. That means he wasn't playing gunner on special teams in the preseason game, right? And so my theory is this: when Snyder loses his special team aces to have to play defense and offense, and then they kind of be removed, then you got to bring the next man up. It's gonna be a little different out there for the special teams. Okay, it's gonna be guys going over pursue like Jalen Graham. Love the dude. Don't know if he belong there, but he trying to make the roster, right? He over pursues that first kick return, misses that tackle, forces Embry to miss the tackle. Everybody missed the tackle, but the funny thing is Jalen Graham ran him down and made the tackle. So he wouldn't have had to do that if he would have just made the tackle in the first place. That's the special teams. Those guys. Demetrius Flanagan fouls. Like, there's a lot of players that weren't playing special teams in the first preseason game. So, yeah, they were bad. They were terrible. But I got to give Snyder the benefit of the doubt. I want to see what it's like when he got his aces out there. Now, if the aces are out there and they look terrible, then it's time to talk about moving on from Brian Schneider, just like they did Richard Hightower a few years ago.
Yeah, and Vader's right there with you. Schneider has been no better than Hightower. I agree. It's been, and it's not like we're investing. You brought in Ezekiel Turner as a special teamer. You got George Odom. Like, it's not like we have guys on this roster that are bad special teams players.
Agreed. But George Odom was starting where? Safety. So he probably wasn't even on the special teams unit at the time. Now the depth moved up and they're not panning out. And that's why you get these mistakes.
Yeah. I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't want to go. And Vicky, she started this SOS special teams. She hit that earlier.
It was bad. Let's
do this. Paul, shout out to Paul Hope and the Faithful UK podcast, and just a great chapter and amazing humans they are. How confident are you both feeling ahead of this season? So let's do a 1 to 10 scale, 10 being the most confident you've ever been about a 49ers team, 1 being you're probably a Raiders fan. 1 to 10, kind of where would you put that?
Are we taking into consideration that there's no Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams?
All of it, the context, everything.
Oh, damn.
Your current situation.
I'm at a 7. At a 7. Brock Purdy's still our quarterback. He's healthy, right? With Brock, you got a chance. Nick Bosa's healthy. You got a chance. Brock's just gonna have to be a little bit better if Trent not out there. It's not a slight at Jalen Moore or Hubbard or whoever's going to be playing left tackle, but Brock's going to have to see the field a little bit differently. But I'm at a 7. I'm still confident that the 49ers are going to be great because their defense is going to be great. And so with a great defense, probably will make a great offense. Get that offense the ball back, let Brock do his thing. I'm confident, but I would be at a 9, 10, 11, 12 if them other 2 players are back.
There you go. See, whenever I initially saw the question, I thought, and I want to see everybody else's answers. We're getting some answers through here. We got 4, 7, 6.5. Put how confident? 10 being most confident you've ever been in a preseason, all that stuff. 1 being, again, you're not a fan. I was going to say 9 off the bat, but then I was like, okay, maybe 8. I want to go 8.5 because I still think we have the best roster of football, even with all these injuries. We still got Brock. We still got Shanahan. We still got there's so much talent on this team. Like, if we went through, and this would be a fun, whatever. Let's do 1 through 10 on all 32 teams in the NFL. The only team that should have a higher grade than us is the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, that's it. And they're dealing with major injury issues too.
Yeah. Hollywood Brown might be out for the season. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how that's
football. It's football, guys. I think with our injuries, when you get them, I think Kyle Shanahan is doing a great job in managing them, right? And so it's like, yep, hamstring injury, it's this grade, he'll be out for this many weeks, but the players are still at camp, showing up, working out on the sideline, so that's good. It's not like they're just sitting resting; they're just not running the drills, right? They're not running the level. I haven't been to camp this year, but they're probably not running the drills, but they're doing individual things on the sideline just to warm up, just to be out there, things like that. So they're not major injuries. And the major injuries that we do have, to me, weren't to critical positions. They were to players, they were to depth. So the next man up mentality must be the way to go. They need to put that up in the locker room as they walk. Next man up, next man up, next man up, next man up.
It needs to be wheelchair accessible though, so that the injured guys could take part in that too. You know what I mean? That's a little joke, probably a bad joke. Papa J, and this will be our last question of the day. When you guys watch film, what are the top things you are looking for? Wade, do you want to take this first? What do you think? How do you? Because Wade, and if you haven't subscribed to his Patreon yet, good Lord, what are you doing? The Wayne Breezy on Patreon, go support.
You know what I love about like the film breakdowns that you, Johnny Dell's another person I like to watch. Johnny Dell is, if I can rank you, if let's say I take us three, right, and I rank Johnny Dell's like all Madden, no shot to you, John.
I don't take it as one. He's
no. You teach it differently. Johnny Dell's doing straight up calculus, advanced physics, calculus, and then you break it down to like algebra 2. You know what I'm saying? You know, cool. And I'm arithmetic. Like, you know what I mean?
I love that. I hope Johnny. I want to say this to Johnny. That's great.
I'm 1 + 1 = 2. You got the multiplication and some integers and some variables, and then Johnny Dell turns numbers back into letters. But for me, I like to watch like the mistakes. So I'm looking at like if there's a tackle for a loss, and so what was the call? So when we watch games live, we'd be like, oh man, he didn't hit the hole hard. And then when you watch the film, you'd be like, oh shoot, dude forgot to block or missed the block or just didn't block. Like, and so now you understand. And what made me start doing that, John, is when Jawan Jennings came in that Cleveland game and lined up in the backfield. And I don't never want to see that, but he took on the Debo role as the Z, right? And I said, dang, he got blown up. Jawan Jennings should never, ever in his life. And then when I went and watched the film, it was because I believe Jake Brendel just didn't block. Just said, go ahead, hit him, hike, hit him. Like, it was weird. So it's always a cause to the effect. And so that's what I look at the mistakes and figure out ways that they can kind of like improve, and it gives me clarification. So I kind of tell everybody, well, this is why it happened. And then I look at explosive plays, like what made this an explosive
My favorite
play?
thing you do, man.
Who did the block? Who, you know, stuff like that. And so I even break down the penalties just to see if the refs be cheating, because they call a lot of different penalties on the Niners, and sometimes they be off and wrong.
I love it.
So I look at all that's what I do. That's my film analysis breakdown. Then when I want to go a little bit more into depth, I hit up John, and then I try to stay away from Johnny Dell, but it's he puts all the cool bells and whistles and the stuff on his job. You know, everybody's different.
And my thing is just from my coaching background. Like, I try, whenever I first started doing the film breakdowns for the Niners, the idea was, oh, this is what I did with my team, right? So we would play the game, we would sit down as a team, and we would go through all of the tape, offense and defense, and all those different things. And I missed it. I don't know what comments got you rolling.
I looked at Dave. So if you're an educator, you will understand what Common Core math was. You will understand it. Like, you understand what he's saying is what I mean. I still don't understand Common Core math, but yeah, like math is different now.
Oh, that's awesome. But yeah, like my thing whenever I watch film is just, look, this is why the play worked. This is why the play didn't. And so every play like that, and then you can highlight certain players and all those things, but it's more of like an educational. My thing is I want people to understand football so that the next time they watch the live 49ers game, they know what's happening and why it is working and why it is not. Whereas Johnny Dale's all about the playbook, and he's all about, you know, the terms and all that stuff. And he's freaking awesome. And shout out to Adam, who's on Johnny Dale's show.
Yes, shout out to Adam
with us this weekend. He helped with the 49ers Rush Road Trip event, which was awesome. Such a positive human to be around. Really cool dude. But yeah, this has been a great show. It's been a lot of fun. Wayne is about to go put on the Concert of the Ages out on the island, which I'm pumped about. But anyway, make sure, again, I'm going to start the show the same way we're going to end it. Wherever you are, go type in The Wayne Breezy. If you're on YouTube, type in The Wayne Breezy. You're on Twitter, you're on Instagram, you're on whatever, Patreon, type in The Wayne Breezy and hit that subscribe button. You will not be upset. And Wayne, final thoughts and take us out of this show, my friend.
Final thoughts, man. A couple of weeks from the regular season beginning. and we got the New York Football Jets coming into town. You know what's cool? I know a lot of Jet fans, and they're not confident, and that's what I like. I like that they're not confident. They're not confident. They're not confident. They're not confident because they're a little scared. They know that the 49ers ain't nothing to mess with. I wanted to say ain't nothing to beef with, but a lot of people don't know about Wu-Tang Clan. Faithful, stay up. Make sure you stay faithful. Make sure you support my brother John and all the Rush Road trips, man. If you can get out there, you don't want to miss those events. We'll see you on the next show. We out.